Welcome to the Whole Child Sleep podcast, where we help families nurture dreams and raise wholeness. Welcome to the Whole Child Sleep podcast. I'm your host, Myra Hartzheim, and today we're talking about sleep training for babies, the ultimate readiness checklist. Ensuring that your baby is ready and all the factors are optimized for sleep training is essential to a great sleep training experience. I am going to present you 4 readiness checklists that you can use to make sure that your baby is ready for sleep training. Number 1 is developmental readiness. Researchers have identified that babies are generally more receptive to sleep training around the 4 to 6 month or older age range. And that is when they also naturally begin to develop regular sleep patterns. The checklist you'll want to check off on this topic is your baby 4 to 6 months old or older, or showing signs of being able to self-soothe? And sometimes this happens even after 6 months of age. So keep that in mind. And number 2 is digestive health. Proper digestive functioning is a cornerstone of good health and can influence sleep quality. Issues like chronic gassiness, reflux, and allergies can lead to disrupted sleep. Addressing potential food sensitivities or digestive concerns can lead to better sleep outcomes for your little one. The checklist that you will be wanting to check off on this topic of digestive health is number 1, my baby is pooping regularly without signs of discomfort. Number 2, baby exhibits no persistent gassiness. Number 3, baby is free of reflux, which could be indicated by persistent crying and arching of back during and after feeds. And lastly, baby does not have persistent skin rashes or eczema, which might suggest food allergies or sensitivities. All right. Thirdly is breathing habits. Healthy breathing patterns are imperative for restorative sleep. Mouth breathing rather than nasal breathing can signal underlying health issues, which can lead to improper jaw development and affect sleep quality. So the checklist for this topic is baby breathes primarily through their nose and does not chronically snore or show signs of breath holding. And then lastly, but just as importantly, is establishing a healthy, happy sleep rhythm for your baby. Is your baby sleeping generally at the same time every day, falling asleep generally easily, and waking up well rested? Those are the factors you'll want to have in place before sleep training your little one. Let me know if this was helpful or if you have any questions, and I will talk to you all next week. Thank you for listening to the Whole Child Sleep podcast. For references to articles discussed in this podcast or for evidence on the topics that we've discussed on this podcast, please look in the description below, or you can find the articles linked in our blog at curesleep.us. I want to give you an idea of what you can expect in terms of structure of this podcast moving forward. You can expect 1 podcast a week, and we will cover a topic for 2 weeks. The first week, you can expect the podcast to be more educational and informational. The following week will be more of a Q&A covering the same topic. If you have a question that you would like us to answer during the Q&A podcast, please send them in at 406-551-4083. And if you've found this podcast to be helpful, we ask that you share it. We would love to reach more tired families. We also ask that you subscribe and like and give us a 5-star review. This also helps us reach more tired families. We hope you have a beautiful day, and we will talk to you next week. By listening to this podcast, you understand and agree to the following. The content of this podcast offers the opinions of Myra Hartzheim and her guests, and it is not intended as medical advice. It serves as an informational purpose. For personalized and medical concerns, consult your healthcare professional. The views and opinions in this podcast are our own and don't represent our employees or affiliates. The views of the guests in this podcast are their own and do not necessarily reflect that of Cure Sleep Group. Our podcast and website are not for legal purposes, such as establishing a standard of care or expert witness testimony. We don't guarantee the accuracy of statements or opinions. We appreciate your assistance in maintaining content accuracy. If you find errors in our podcast or blogs, please reach out via email to support@curesleep.us. This podcast is owned by Cure Sleep LLC and presented by the Whole Child Sleep Podcast. Thank you for tuning in.